Calgary. I'm Lanre Ajayi, Calgary community advocate and the host of My City Speaks to Me. On October 20th, Calgarians will head to the polls to elect a new mayor. And that is why we're here today, to bring you up close and personal to individuals who are running for the office of mayor in the city of Calgary. And it's an honor for me to have one of the individuals running for this office in the person of Davison. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you.
I'd love to shake your hands, but
I know it's like a virtual, like we're too far away, you know.
Cool. So how are you doing today?
I'm great. This is amazing. Thanks for having us.
I'm loving this dress. It's beautiful. You know, the color combination, perfect.
You know, I have a lot of responsible adults that put this together. The only downside was I realized this morning I put my Christmas socks on. But hey, whatever. We're halfway there, so it's fine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, the questions I have for you is in 5 categories. It's going to be on core motivational background, vision for Calgary, critical issues, leadership and collaboration, and personal connection to Calgary. And they're very simple. Some of them are questions, they're like 2-in-1 questions, but they're very simple. And I'll go to the first one, your core motivational background. Now, why are you running for Mayor of Calgary now, and what specific moment or issues inspired you to step forward?
You know, it's interesting because that's the number one question that people ask, right? Why are you running? What do you plan to do? What brings you back? I mean, for me, you know, I'm a former city councilor. I've obviously run before. 3.5 years ago, I didn't think we'd be here. I thought this council would be elected, and, you know, because we tend to favor incumbents in our city, I thought they'd be there for at least 8 years and just kind of carry forward with their agenda. So frankly, moved on with my life. I've enjoyed being the CEO at the Prostate Cancer Center for the last 3.5 years and, you know, spending more time with my family. But, you know, as time went on, I think, to me, I've always thought of Calgary needs to be this place, this city that is a safe, affordable place of opportunity for everyone. Yeah. And more, I think we've lost our way on that. Right? When we think about 70,000 people a year choosing to make Calgary their home, you know, you start to worry when costs get out of control, when budgets are being spent on things that they shouldn't frankly be spent on at the municipal level. You know, I started thinking to myself, I'm pretty concerned with the future of Calgary and where my kids are going to fit in, and frankly, where everybody's kids are going to fit in. Yeah. You know, Calgary's becoming very unaffordable. We've got significant public safety challenges that are going on in and around the downtown. Infrastructure's falling apart. And so as somebody who was born and raised here, I kept hearing from people saying, would you step back up? Would you look at this again? And overwhelmingly, the voices got loud enough that here I find myself running again. And to me, it's about putting together a vision that shows Calgary as the entrepreneurial hub of the world, that we can be the city we want to be, and that we can set everybody here up for success.
Amazing. I hear the concern about Calgary, and that leads me to the next question, your vision for Calgary. If elected, what would your top priority be on day one, and how would you achieve it if elected?
So it's a big question because I think, you know, when we think about the agenda going forward, I think public safety, infrastructure, and affordability are the big 3 key items. But before we get started on the plan and how we're going to address those things, it comes down to leadership, it comes down to experience, and it comes down to vision, right? Where are we going as a city? We're going to, by way of this election, have the largest turnover in council history. And so the experience that we choose in our next mayor is really important. For me, 25 years in energy and technology and film and healthcare, and having, you know, the privilege of sitting on city council before, it makes me pretty well-rounded for the job going forward, because we're going to, whether we like it or not, we're going to have this big turnover, new councillors, and it's really important to set the groundwork on day one in terms of what's our strategic plan? What does the next 4 years look like? What are the important things we need to talk about as city council and the agenda we want to have collectively? Yeah. But more importantly, what are the things that we can't be doing in the next 4 years, right? We try to be a city that does everything for everyone, and we do our best to do that. But the next 4 years is really about focusing on getting back to basics, focusing on our core service lines, and making sure that we deliver the basics to Calgarians really well. Then we can move on from there.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, while you're talking, you have an impressive resume, 25 years working different industries, different organizations, different experiences. That leads me to the next question, that Calgary is a city of diverse communities, different belief system, orientation, religious background. How will you ensure all voices are heard in your decision making?
I think, I think Calgary is the best city in the world.
Yeah.
Right. I know we have our challenges, but I do really believe that's why I've chosen to have a career here and raise my family here, as well as so have 1.5 million other people. Right. I think the greatest thing about Calgary is the diversity of our communities, both physically and the people that represent those communities. The number one problem I think our city council has is they stopped listening to people. And it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you came from. Number one, people come to Calgary for opportunity. And that doesn't matter if you've come from the Middle East or you've come from Saskatchewan. People come here because of opportunity. And we've become a city that gets in the way of people's success. And so for me, it doesn't matter where you came from. It matters that you can make a way of life here and that you can earn a good living here and that you can raise a family here in a safe, affordable city of opportunity for everyone, right? And so to me, when city council stops listening to people, that's where the trust gets broken, right? We have right now a city council that is very focused on, I think, this we know best attitude. And part of the reason why I think you're seeing the largest turnover in council history, part of the reason why I think I'm even running for mayor is because there's an opportunity. Because people overwhelmingly, despite the issues, have stood up and said, we deserve to be listened to. And nobody's doing that right now.
Amazing. Now, paint us a picture of Calgary in the next 10 years. What picture of Calgary do you have in mind next 10 years?
Next 10 years? I think it's really about being the entrepreneurial city of the world, right? We've got one of the greatest post-secondary institutions here that focuses on being the entrepreneurial school of the world. I think Calgarians, no matter where you come from, we're smart, we're articulate, we know how to get things done. It's that type of entrepreneurial attitude that I want us to be known for.
Amazing. Now we'll go to the third part, which is the critical issue. Still here on My City Speaks to Me, having an interview with Jeff Davison, running for the office of mayor in the city of Calgary. Now, affordable housing is a growing challenge in Calgary, and you mentioned that. What's your plan to ensure Calgarians can afford to live here? Because in my industry, art and culture, I've seen a lot of individuals migrating to Toronto, to that part, because they can't make a living here. So what's your plan to ensure Calgarians can afford to live in this city?
Well, and let's be clear, no one moves to Toronto because it's more affordable, right? So that is a bigger problem that we have to address, right?
For their crafts.
Absolutely. So it's a combination of affordability and opportunity. On the affordability side, it's really multiple parts. So number one, I've said we're going to put forward a 0% tax increase over the next 4 years. That's putting money back in people's pockets. That forces us to get really drill down on the services that we want to offer as a city and be good at those things. And that really is getting back to basics. And when we're a city that now has $220 million as a surplus in the first half of this year, doing the basic math, that's a 12% property tax reduction for people. That's a lot of money that we can put back into the pockets of our citizens. So we're going to address that, number one. From an affordable side, I think it's a different problem. It's a housing problem, and it's an affordable housing problem. Council has told us that we have a housing crisis, that we have an affordability crisis, but they haven't done anything about it, right? It's a self-inflicted problem. And the reason I say that is because if you and I were to go and invest in, let's say, an apartment building downtown, on average right now, it would take us 8 years to get that project out of the ground.
Wow.
That's unacceptable for a city that's growing at the rate we're growing. And it's unacceptable to tell me that we have a housing and an affordability emergency. So number one is we have to address the red tape. We've got to be able to move development faster because a lot of that development comes with 15% off-market housing. We can offer more affordable housing to citizens as long as we can get the buildings built. It's the timing on getting those buildings built that is actually the problem.
Cool. Now, public safety is another concern that is rising, and it's a concern for a lot of communities in different neighborhoods. What's your approach to addressing crime while fostering community trust?
I think to be honest, one of the biggest differences between our election in 2021 and now is I would say in 2021, we were very divided in terms of how we want to police our city and what that looks like. I can tell you that, I have been talking to people for well over a year, banging on doors. People stop me at work in the hospitals. The number one thing on people's mind right now is public safety. People just don't feel safe here. They don't feel safe on transit. They don't feel safe going to work downtown. They think the gang violence and the guns in schools is out of control. People don't feel that they can let their kids go off and play like they used to. So generally speaking, I think we've become a less safe city, despite city council telling us we should believe otherwise. To me, I think we're unified in that. I think when we have, roughly 3,500 people on the streets downtown, about 90+% of the crime that's happening in the core is committed by 180 of those people. So number one, we've got a policing issue that we need to address crime with and get tougher on crime. But more importantly, it's about partnership. It's about partnering with, community operations. It's about partnering with the provincial and federal government to address a much bigger problem. And that's the mental health and addiction side of what's going on in our communities. Until we get more proactive about how we're going to address those issues, we're never going to change. But I will say that Calgary, unlike many other municipalities across North America, is in a different position. You go back to think about that entrepreneurial spirit I talked to, right? That means we're bringing the brightest minds here. We've got smart people here. And we've got an attitude that is really about getting it done. For me, I think it's going back to the community to say, we need to do better, but we need to do it collectively. And we need to agree on one problem that all of us can help solve. And if we can get there, I actually think Calgary can help North America lead the way out of some of the problems we're seeing with mental health and addiction. And we can show the world that there is a better path.
Amazing. Now, we're going to the fourth segment, which is the leadership and collaboration. Now, mayors often face opposition. Every leadership often face opposition. Tell us about a time you disagree with the majority view and how did you handle it?
Well, I wouldn't say there's been many times that I've disagreed with the majority view, right? I think we live in a democracy. We have to respect people's opinions. But I'll tell you, having a 25-year background in business tells you that, anytime you get together and you make a merger or an acquisition or you try to put something together, generally there's no one winner in the equation. It's, when you come together and say, we've got to find some common ground if we're going to move the project forward. And so whether I agree or disagree, when the majority of people stand up and say, this is what we want, and I'll give you a good example, the blanket rezoning, right? Okay. So here's a situation where 85% of Calgarians stood up and said, we don't believe this is right for our city, but city council went and did it anyway. Was it the right thing? Well, I don't think so. You have to be willing to listen to people. And when you have that much public hearing time and when you have that much community involvement, you've got to be seen listening to people. I think it's actually the number one problem as to why we're going to see this big turnover on council. They stopped listening and they started having this attitude that they know best. Well, they don't know best. When it comes to the city, we have 23,000 employees. 23,000. We're the largest employer in the city of Calgary. To me, I don't care if you're part of the planning department or you're with the police or you pick up the garbage. We are all here in service to Calgarians. Yeah. Number one, Calgarians are our boss, and we have to respond accordingly. So when the majority stands up and says, this is what we want to be looking at, we have to find the path to balancing that decision to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind, but we do have to address it with the majority in mind.
Amazing. Now, how will you work with provincial, federal governments to secure resources for Calgary?
Well, I know I'm awfully critical of council. It's why I'm running again. But again, I think this is where council has failed to deliver on a partnership, right? The cities, whether we like it or not, have to work with the provincial government we're given. And I think we've seen a lot of ideology come out of city council that has really drawn a division line between us and the provincial government. Governments come and go. Right? And history will say, both at the municipal and the provincial, and in fact, the federal level as well, governments change from time to time. We need a leader who can bring people together, who can find the common ground, and who can put Calgarians first. And that's what I plan to do. So to me, it's about building that relationship with the provincial government. We have issues with Green Line we have to address with the provincial government. We have issues with bike lanes we have to address with the provincial government. But we also have funding needs from the federal government in terms of some of that affordable housing pieces that we were talking about. So you've got to be able to balance partnership and need and do it in a way that doesn't create barriers. And I think what we've seen from the city council is this, creation of an ideological challenge that has really put up a barrier rather than building partnership.
Cool. Now let's talk about your personal connection to Calgary. What's your favorite thing about Calgary? The one thing you will never change?
The one thing I would never change about Calgary? Well, that's an interesting question. I think, honestly, it's the people. I mean, the greatest thing about being involved in an election is just the people you get to meet, the conversations like this that you get to have, all these folks. I mean, it's such an incredible way to get out and meet people and hear their story and hear what they care about. it's taking that and taking that into City Hall and then acting with that attitude that we put people first that I think is just the thing that'll never change.
Amazing. People first. Now, outside of politics, what's your passion and how does it shape your leadership?
Passion outside of politics? Well, I suppose there's two, really. Well, three if I should answer my kids. It's okay. You can all laugh at that. No, I mean, it's interesting because when I said earlier that kind of moving on after the last election, I got involved with the Prostate Cancer Center, and it really has become a passion and a drive for me to, put men's health forward. I think a lot of times as guys, we don't talk about our health. We don't want to talk about the challenges, whether that's mental or physical. And it's been an incredible opportunity for me to get out and sort of be the face of men's health in our community and talk to guys about why early detection matters, why we actually need to go to the doctor beyond when we think something's physically wrong, and why we need to put our health first, right? Because often, we rely on the women in our lives to actually point us to the doctor when we want to, or the partners in our lives to do it. And it's got to change. Guys have got to do a better job. So I'm incredibly passionate about that. And I'll tell you, as mayor, I will continue to advocate for that type of health because we really got to get focused on keeping guys in our community healthy. The other passion I have is film, right? And I brought a lot of that passion when I previously sat on city council and, having worked in the film and entertainment industry for about 20 years now and having some fairly successful Hollywood projects done and continue to work on that is really just, it's a passion project for me. And it's something A, I believe is important, and B, I just have a lot of fun doing.
Amazing, amazing. Now, I have this last question, and it's a sentence that I'm going to start, but you're going to finish the sentence. Now, Calgarians should vote for me because I want you to phrase that sentence.
Because I'm asking you to help me build a safe, affordable place of opportunity for everyone.
Amazing. Now you hear Calgarians, Jeff is asking you to vote for him because we want to build affordable and safe community for everyone. On September 15, we're going to take this interview to a community, debate where all the major candidates will be coming to the Central Library, 5 p.m. on September 15 for a debate. And then you can join us. You can, send your questions. You can come see Jeff and all the candidates that will be running for this office, and you have the opportunity to connect with them. So let's see you at the library. And it's running up for me now. Jeff, one final words for you to our audience.
If you're interested in what I've had to say, honestly, please join us. Go to jeffdavisonyyc.com and sign up, help us. This is a really important election, and we encourage everybody in our city to get involved.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.